Yeah, it's recording.
Good day, can you hear me? This is the Ubuntu Party at the high school in Melkbosstrand. As you can see from around us, the other parties are not quite as elaborate as ours. But basically, the gang is all here. Here we are, Ubuntu, moving forward, our presence, our being, our ability, what we stand for.
What does the Ubuntu actually stand for?
Ubuntu,
what is it about?
Ubuntu stands for contributism, where everybody performs a certain function and they all are reimbursed for it in their own way.
But isn't that the same as any sort of political party? How does it differ? Everybody's about contributing something.
Yes, but not quite the same as Ubuntu. Ubuntu stands for the rights of the people. For example, 90% of people are not aware that South Africa is a constitution, constitution corporation.
Yes.
And that the constitution is actually the working agreement of the corporation.
What do you mean? What do you mean? South Africa is not a
the corporation of the Republic of South Africa. It is not a democracy. It is not a constitutional republic. It is not a republic. It is a corporation. Okay, and actually, when you look at it realistically, what do
you mean? South Africa is not a company? Not a country, it's a company. What do you mean by that?
It's a company because it's registered on the American Stock Exchange.
What, the South Africa?
Yes, the South Africa, formerly the Republic of South Africa.
Yeah.
Now the Corporation of South Africa, which means South Africa has actually got shareholders. That is why all of your taxes, the 900 billion rand in taxes which you pay, is not used for the benefit of the people of South Africa. It is sent overseas, the International Monetary Fund, gives private stockholders and shareholders, and they benefit from it. But the people here pay something like 45% of the salaries that they earn, okay, on tax.
Yeah, and you're saying that tax money is not even going back to the people?
No, not at all. Tax was actually only brought into being in 1917 in South Africa. Before that, people never paid any taxes. There was excepting, of course, if you earned, I think at that time, was over £1,000 per year. Then you'd be eligible to pay tax. But the moment you earned under that, there was no tax and nobody paid taxes.
So if let's assume that that's true, and that all the tax money is not even going back to the people of the country, but going to some private stockholders and international bankers around the world, housed mainly in Basel, Switzerland, like you say. Let's assume that's true. How does the Ubuntu Party? How are they going to even try and change that?
Well, what the Ubuntu Party is going to do, and the main drive of the main drive of the Ubuntu Party, as you can see here, is to have our own currency backed by the resources and the resources of the country. In other words, what is in the ground. It's no longer, for example, if you take a mine, for example, a mine is owned by overseas shareholders. You can't take the mine out the ground and move it to another country. Everything that is in the mine belongs to the people of this country.
Okay.
And the people should actually benefit by it. They shouldn't have to pay taxes, because the taxes should be paid by the resources of what is of what we produce, of what is in our ground, of the way we do things.
Okay, so basically what Ubuntu wants to do is create a people's bank.
Yes, people's bank, yes, a people's bank, a people's currency.
Without interest?
Without interest, and it's got nothing to do with the International Monetary Fund. It is money for the people, by the people, interest-free. In other words, if you go and buy a house, the price you see is the price you pay with a small administration cost. If you go and buy a car, for example, the price you see is the price you pay with a small administration cost. Very, very small. And which means to say, by doing this and by doing away with taxes, whether it's VAT or your normal
income tax,
etc., all that money will be made more freely available, which means that everybody in the country will actually have more spending money. Yeah, it'll cut crime tremendously, because why do people steal? Because they got no money, because they need things.
You're saying all that money is actually going back to the bankers anyway. It's not even going back to the people. So people are basically enslaved by the big corporations
by the
that own
banking
all the
system.
banks.
Yeah, that's right.
And their kids, is a perpetual degradation of the people's real rights. Then basically, what you're saying is true.
100%, you've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, but okay, so as far as the bank goes, as far as, let's call it, the financial system goes, Ubuntu seems like it wants to create a massive alternate financial system.
Exactly. Money for the people, by the people.
Okay, but what about other issues like electricity?
Well, electricity. Look, why should we have to pay? Why should we have to pay for power and electricity? The nuclear power station, all power stations have already been paid for out of our cash. These are now private corporations which are skimming money off the top and exporting it overseas. The same as toll roads. I mean, toll roads, 90% is owned by a company in Austria, and these shareholders get paid the balance of the money. Only a very, very small percentage is kept here and used to maintain the toll roads and to pay stock and one thing, but the majority of money made by the toll roads in South Africa are going overseas. But the bottom line is, why should we have toll roads in the first places? Because if you go back to ancient Rome, all you have a right to travel, a right to move, but all roads should be free of charge.
Basic human rights, basically.
Yeah, basic. Well, look, what are human rights? Human rights are something which is bought by government, where you feel that government is actually giving you benefit. That is rubbish. This is not a benefit. That is your birthright. These things you're entitled to. You're entitled to freedom of speech. You're entitled to freedom of movement. You're entitled to get married without a marriage
certificate.
You're entitled to run a business without a business license.
But then I would assume what you're actually in a nutshell trying to say is that people will almost be self-empowered and be put in a better position to govern themselves.
Exactly.
And but the thing is, to be fair, I mean, I don't know, I speak for everyone, but definitely myself. I mean, sometimes people like to be told, what to do, what they can and can't do. If you allow people to just, govern themselves, what sort of chaos could that possibly wreak?
That there is utterly ridiculous. People are more intelligent now. They have the ability. The thing is, they're indoctrinated from the moment they go to school. They're taught they got to live by the rules and regulations. At no time ever are they taught to.
You're talking about indoctrination at schools. We actually the voting poll here is at the Melkbos High School.
At the school.
So we're being further indoctrinated through the system as well. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Anyway, as I was saying, the indoctrination school, we live in a society of what you call status quo. Monkey see, monkey do. Nobody thinks of living by what I consider my 3 golden rules. The first one is to do what I like, go where I like, but harm no one. That is the first rule.
Almost like the pagan and the harm none, do what he will type of thing.
Yeah, okay. The second rule that I try and live by very strongly is to think for myself. The third rule that I try to live by very strongly is to question all authority. Because somebody walks along in a uniform and tells me, yeah, you know what I mean? Say to him, yeah. Who are you?
Oh, you mean like policemen or whatever?
Oh, whatever. Anybody.
Traffic officers.
Anybody who thinks that they have authority.
But they've got a right. They've got a right over you. You've got to do what they tell you.
They've got no right over me. The only time they have a right over me is if me and them have sat down at the table, we worked out what I can do, what I can't do, according to them, and they've agreed that I can do what I want to do in certain goodies, and we have a notary there, and we've signed it, and we've agreed.
So you're saying if you consent,
if
you consent to their control, you don't consent
to it. If you do not consent, now you're voting and your ID number, that basically makes you a citizen, a person or a resident of the particular country, which makes you are now contributing to the so-called government and the system in which you exist in. You have no rights on your own. You've got to do what you're told. That's what it is. That's what you're taught. Doing what you're told. Being a sheep, bah, 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 bah. And just following the rest of the herd.
So just to sort of finish off, because it's been almost 10 minutes now, it's a nice chat. Thank you very much. It's been very enlightening. I understand a little bit more about Ubuntu now, but if you had to sort of sum everything up into a nutshell, well, what is it that you're actually trying to achieve with Ubuntu? Where do you see Ubuntu to be taking the country? And how is that going to affect the country?
Ubuntu, I can encapsulate in a very, very small sentence, okay? In a very small, concise sort of understanding of Ubuntu. You cannot stop an idea that's time has come. That's it.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.